Good afternoon. Hopefully this will be our fourth and final installment of the astrological perspective from a 50% like or 50% unlike perspective there. Last time I left off, I believe I was on Leo. And Leo, of course, naturally represents the leadership factor. There's a reason why they look upon themselves as a leader, basically, because interesting enough, Aquarians in their own right, which is their opposite, does their own leading as well. But interesting enough, Leos lead by the heart, meaning they lead by inciting emotional, not necessarily emotionalism per se, but they incite uh, uh, they incite the charge, the ignition of energy, if you will, by it being fire, into the hearts of others, basically say, hey, you have the power to do this, you have the power to do that, which is why their motto is I will. They kind of instill the will with you to basically do what is necessary, do what is right to not only protect yourself, but mainly protect others, putting yourself out in the forefront, basically, to get people to be at the best at what they're supposed to do, what they need to do, or what they're already doing. The whole focus of Leo, basically, and Aquarians, their representation is simply to keep consistency going as far as the drive is concerned, to get things done, to complete things. Also, like I mentioned before, to lead as well. Leo's whole thing is if I'm not there, basically, to lead, I'm going to make sure I extend my rays of light onto you, which is why they rule the sun. They rule the sun because the sun rays basically are supposed to energize and enlighten others, which is why they rule children, because they think more than anything else, hey, when it comes to igniting children, basically, they want to make sure that children have every bit of reason, basically, to do what they need to do for the most part, to go out and learn, if you will, basically. They incite children to have fun, because that's what they're also about too, which is why it's all about parties, because they're about keeping that energy up and going, keeping it alive, basically, to make sure that whatever you're doing, whatever you're taking care of, or taking care of, if you will, you have to make sure that your energy is on jam, so to speak. But the main thing, factor, they're there to incite and enlighten, basically, others, because Aquarians do the same thing. Aquarians are like, I'm here to enlighten your mind. I'm here saying that there's multiple ways of doing things and thinking about things. So therefore, when your mind is enlightened, then your actions basically become even more enlightened, because, well, wait a minute. Well, how does that be? How is that? I don't understand that. Well, it's simple. The whole factor of that is simply this. When your mind is enlightened, basically, your actions become that much more confident in its follow-through. When their follow-through comes through, it's one of those things where you know for a fact that you, no matter what goal that is, basically, that you have in mind, it's going to be taken care of. If it's not going to be taken care of, you know how to go back to the drawing board, because basically you have an idea now on what you need to do. Leos are into leading people while they're in front of the line, whereas Aquarians are usually in the back of the mind, back of the group, so to speak. Not to say that they don't want the limelight per se, but they don't feel that it's important to have the limelight. Just as long as they've they give you insight when it comes to thinking process, an expanded mind, mental frame of mind. And no matter what happens, when you wrap your mind around something, excuse me, when you wrap your mind around something, you're able to complete it no matter what's going on. And which is why Aquarian's motto, I know. They're the type of people, they observe people, and they observe the people around them for the most part, so they know how to, for lack of a better phrase, manipulate society as far as their mind state is concerned. It could be a good way, it could be a bad way, depending on what kind of Aquarian that is. By that being the case, it is very important that people who decide to hang around Aquarians make sure that they know exactly what kind of Aquarian they're dealing with, because even though Aquarians have a great deal of knowledge and a great deal of applied knowledge, because they can take any bit of information for the most part and apply it to just about anything. That's how ingenious they are. Excuse me. So when it comes to that, their attitude is like, okay, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. Well, how do you know to do this? Well, for one, they'll point out things on a social setting, basically, and they put the gamble factor there that, you know, I bet I can basically have his mind or her mind thinking this way and that one the other, than him or her being this way, where, okay, well, I don't do that kind of thing. But you don't have to be a certain type of individual in order to try something new. I said, what do you mean by that? Well, for one, Aquarians are all about innovative thinking. And after the innovative thinking takes place, you are basically going to be innovative in your actions, something that you're not used to. This is why they rule the planet Uranus, because Uranus is all about unexpected energy, and therefore dealing with that unexpected energy in the form of using your own genius, if you will, that genius energy, that innovative, creative will, if you will, as far as your mind is concerned. That's what you're going to do. That's how you're going to think about things, so to bring about a different result, a more favorable result as far as yourself is concerned. Now, Leo, they're all about creative action. That's the difference between that. Fire is all about action. Air is all about thought process before that action. This is why they feed off of one another. You know, when the mind and the body basically are in sync, there's nothing that you can't do. So, whether positive or negative, but just make sure that if you decide to do something negative, you better make sure that you are not going to receive any karmic debt from it. That has a lot to do with past life energy, but that's another video. But when it comes to Leo, I'm going to be that leader, because hey, mind you, they rule the heart. And what does the heart do? It pumps blood to different parts of the body. And they also rule the upper back. And I'm giving you this little bit of information because, quite frankly, my next video, I don't know if it's going to be the next video or the video after that, I'm going to basically connect the astrological functions when it comes to the inner organs and outer parts of the body that each sign rules. Oh yeah, it gets deep, ladies and gentlemen. But as far as that is concerned, 50%, they're leaders. Their 50% is to incite energy within others. Aquarian is more mental, Leo is more action-oriented. Now, as far as how they get there, it's differently. Leos are more out front. I'm telling you, I am the individual who's supposed to lead this group. Well, what makes you the leader? Because basically, I know what happens when certain things need to take place and needs to be taken care of. I know how to have this individual, male or female, handle this. Well, why aren't you doing it? Because basically, I've incited these individuals that I'm leading on what to do, what not to do, basically, that will make our group look and be successful no matter what's going on. Aquarians do the same thing, but they're in the background. Their attitude is they're into planting mental seeds, whereas Leos are into planting emotional/spiritual seeds, if that makes any sense, because that gives you the confidence level, which is Leo exudes that, which is why they're often called arrogant jackasses or sometimes arrogant bastards or what have you, male or female, because their attitude is like, oh, I'm just so good at inciting people to do either what I want them to do or what they need to do to become successful. So only time Leo has this whole thing where it's a downward spiral is when they keep all the light to themselves. That's when that whole, form of arrogance and, egotistical nature, just like, I ain't trying to deal with you. So with Aquarian, ingenious. The ingenious factor says, hey, this is what I'm going to incite in you, and thank me later. Don't worry about it. Just thank me later. You ain't got to do, you don't have to pour it on for the most part, but I would appreciate that you acknowledge that. It's not a problem at all. But that's the 50% like and 50% unlike. 50% is, I'm here to incite you to do great for yourself. The unlike way, or the 50% unlike, of course, is the way they do it. So, but Aquarians have this thing where they can become assholes, because if you're not listening, they have a thing where you're lacking intelligence and they don't like wasting their time. They love to help people, but you have to be listening. Same thing with Leo. They'll basically, guide you for so long, but the attitude is, if you're not into it, if you're not spiritually into it, if you're not into doing what is necessary to basically make sure you move forward, basically on the action level, they're not going to deal with you. Next two and last two, Virgo and Pisces. Interesting. Virgo's aspect and Pisces aspect, once again, they love to help people. They have to make sure they're helping people at all times, because they have to feel like they're needed. Because by Virgos being the perfectionists, they can perfect things themselves, however, but when it comes to teaching others, which is what they're masters at doing, they have to learn how to critique and not just criticize. That's the downfall, of course, of Virgo. when it comes to dealing with people in society. They're more than willing to walk with you, step with you, etc. As long as they're able to teach you, as long as you are able to listen. You must listen. You've got to listen. If you have, if you're not listening, they'll say, okay, fine. Since Virgos like to write things down, basically by them being a sign of mutation, all mutable signs, Gemini, Sagittarius, Virgo, Pisces, they're all about information, distribution of information. All about distribution of the information, which is why they make the great teachers, because they're there to dump all of that knowledge onto you and for you to use it the most innovatively, the most ingenious way possible. Virgos do it in forms of writing books, because they're writing pamphlets, writing things down on paper. That's what they do. which is why you might, most likely going to read, if you ever meet a Virgo or somebody who has a lot of Virgo energy in their chart, they're going to be the type of individuals that, hey, I like to read. I like to see what's on paper. You can tell me a lot of things, but I'd rather do my research by reading. What's on paper to them is not trying to be funny, it's kind of gospel. So, but with Pisces, their attitude is, I want to read the book within. Whoa. The book within? Yes, the book within, where you write your own book of life as you go on, basically, which is why Pisces have this undeniable knack of just looking at you and saying, wow, you need to do this and this and the other. And it's not that they're trying to criticize you. No, Pisces don't do that. Now, it's one of those things where the only time they criticize you is if once you don't do what you're supposed to do. So the attitude is basically, I'm going to be there for you to the end. I'm going to be there, and even if I have to sacrifice things myself, guess what? I'm going to do what is necessary in order to make sure that you get where you need to go. There's nothing wrong with that. Pisces are the ultimate ones, the ultimate sacrifices, because we're at the very end of this zodiac, and yes, I just gave myself away. You are looking at a fish. So by that being the case, the whole factor is, the whole teaching factor is, the 50% thing that are like when it comes to Pisces and Virgo is they're there to help you. They are there to freaking help you. They have no choice per se, because Virgos, if you don't need their help, the attitude is, I don't feel, why am I here? Why am I around? Why should I be around if you don't need my help? Because they're there to perfect you. It may be in their own image, basically, but they're there to perfect you, which is kind of be annoying, because the whole thing is it come off too critical at times. Whereas Pisces says, what do you feel like you should do? What do you feel like you should bring forth as far as yourself is concerned? And with that, when you find that, go with that, and I will push all kinds of energy onto you to not sacrifice, but to push that energy upon you that says, okay, I get it, I understand, I understand, I overstand. And that's where Pisces says, good, now I can leave. However, like I said before, the difference between Virgo is not going to extend their energy thoroughly the way they do in order to make sure you get things right. Pisces will, because they are the end all to be all, so to speak. And this is not to say that they're more valuable than all of them, but you have to understand, and overstand. And I have to give you a little sneak peek on the body factor. Pisces rule the feet for a reason. And more than anything else, if you don't have feet to move, you don't move at all. Aquarians are going to only use their part of their ankle, which is the body part they rule. They're going to only move so much. But once again, if you're not listening, there's a cutoff point there. Whereas Pisces gives you the spiritual level to move, basically courtesy of you recognizing who you are, recognizing who you are not, and being able to push forward to great heights, basically, as far as yourself is concerned. And Pisces also basically teaches you how to sacrifice as well, because it's one of those things where it's an all or nothing situation. That all or nothing, if you get all, if you give all, basically, and able to succeed, it feels good. However, if it's failed, you still can look upon yourself in a situation to say, I did everything I could. I gave everything I needed to give, basically, or had to give in a situation and then some. So I can't look at myself in the form of fault. It's a form of sadness, but it's not a form of fault. Whereas Virgo says, here, read this. I will translate with you if you want me to, which is beautiful. There's nothing wrong with that. But the difference is Pisces rules by the intuitive thought process, the intuitive book within the self. Virgo says, read this, translate it in the way you need to translate it, and basically put it to practical use and practical knowledge, because Virgo is what? Earth energy. That earth energy is off the chain when it's used correctly, because you don't have to worry about any form of lack of resources, lack of finances at all, when you have perfected, i.e. Virgo, you have perfected a system that says this is what I can do and what I cannot do at this particular time, at this particular point. Whereas Pisces is going to use that intuition, but of course you have to trust that intuition in order for it to work for you in its most elaborate form. And by the way, forgive me for being a little egotistical, people, but if the feet are not moving, we don't move. Kind of like the Atlas figure, where the guy has the whole world on his back. That's Pisces energy all day long. And it's almost like everybody has that part of the body where if you don't have feet, you don't move. If Pisces doesn't move, the world doesn't move. Was that arrogant? I'm going to leave that to you to think for yourself. Anyhow, that was the completion of this. Hopefully you've gotten a lot out of it. If not, by all means, email me, Facebook me. Name's Anthony Jordan. Facebook me, and you'll see my face basically. My face is a little bit more clean cut basically on my Facebook page. But if you have any questions, concerns, or what have you, feel free to comment. And I'm going to load this up on YouTube as well, so feel free to comment there as well. Let me know if I'm missing something. Anyhow, like I said, the next one is going to be astrology in relation to the seasons: spring, summer, autumn, winter. Probably be a 4-part series there as well as the body factor as well, the parts of the body in the inner organs as well as the outer parts of the body that the astrological signs rule as well, which lets you know that it's more than just characteristics. Their bodily functions, their body parts, and not to mention seasons that connect with this. This is why this science is a lot deeper than what people would like to believe, if you will. So I'm not sure when this is going to cut off, but I'm going to keep talking until it does, I guess, or until I think everything is done. So next 2 series of videos, so we're looking at another 8 videos most likely. So I look forward to doing it, and I look forward to you guys listening. I look forward to you getting your feedback as well. But of course, naturally, if you have a huge problem with it on a negative level, if you check me, please check me respectfully. That's all I ask. I'm going to respect you as you respect me. But other than that, people, live life long and strong. Take care of yourself big time. And do what is right internally and externally for yourselves, for your family, for your friends, for your perfect strangers even. And with that, sir and ma'am, y'all take care.